Hello, Maryland Spirit Level. I decided I wanted to show you all the paperwork involved because if this ever happens to you, you're going to have to know some things. So here's the complaint filed by the trooper, and here's the resisting arrest right there. Sorry, I'm holding this with one hand and reading with the other. There's a disorderly conduct. Now, you know the resisting arrest, as you saw in the preliminary hearing, that was thrown out. So the resisting arrest was thrown out. Here's disorderly conduct. That is raising my voice. Now, in the preliminary hearing, you heard how the trooper said I was belligerent and yelling and causing a scene, that kind of thing. Well, that's not true. The only person that was causing a scene was Christopher Hunt. He was very angry. He was in my face. He wanted me out of there. He was touching my property. And he was very, very angry. And then when the trooper got there, he was more angry than Christopher Hunt. So those guys are the ones who are disorderly conduct, not me. But you know that the pastor lied, and he will lie again to protect his lie. So here's the next page of the criminal complaint. So, criminal trespass. Now, this is the section under the criminal trespass. I guess he needed more room here. This is how they do it. And he said I was posting advertisements on the property of another. Well, my apparatus, as the lawyer called it, was on wheels. And I say that, well, if I had attached a sign to my wheelchair or attached a sign to my baby carriage, it's the same thing as attaching my sign to my flea market shopping cart. So you stop this video and pause it anytime you need to read anything here. Now, this is the affidavit of probable cause, and I have the other part here marked up a little bit so it's a little easier for you to see. So let me show you what this is. I got to remember to look through the camera so you can see what I'm seeing. But you need to pause this and read it. I did highlight some things. But here he was employed since 2015 in this area. So he should have, 4 years ago, he should have known that this was a public event. He walked in there knowing it was a public event. He saw the signs on the road. I mean, my goodness. So here he's saying a belligerent female. Pastor said it was for church members only. And numerous witnesses. Numerous is Elizabeth Hunt, Christopher Hunt, and the pastor. So numerous is 2. Who related they wanted the woman to leave the private property, but she failed to do so. Well, I just said I'm here under free speech. So yelling, she knew her rights, and that, all the yelling came after, and he even put it in the order here. The yelling came after I was arrested in handcuffs. So sorry, I got to watch my camera here. But the yelling, I was saying that this is a false arrest and I'm here under free speech, something to that effect, which you will see later because I have it in my affidavit that I wrote up. So here's the second page of this criminal complaint. It says 4 of 4 down at the bottom. So the only sheet I didn't show you was just identification sheet. So you'll want to pause that. Now, this is the, you send off to Walgreens, your drugstore, and they print out the pictures. So I'm going to also show you right here is in the description of every video I have, I put the law in there. So here are all the free speech court cases that you can read And these are the ones on private property right here. Okay. California and New Jersey have that they can go inside a mall. And I went to a mall in New Jersey. You have to fill out an application, but you still can do it for things that the mall really would not want you to do. But you have the right to do it there. Okay? And I think it's horrible that Pennsylvania and all the other states, I don't know why this law, this does not cover every state. It's ridiculous. Those malls have destroyed the small towns. They've destroyed our free speech. I am against the malls. I think we need to have our towns back so we can meet people on the street, talk to people, and it's just a better society when you have conversations and interactions. And these malls are very cold and uninviting, and yet even in New Jersey and California, the Supreme Court found that they did create a public square. They have the food courts, and it's just like a little town, but then they have total control. No, that's not right. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. And I'm going to show you my affidavit. And let me just take a second here to set this up so I don't have to wiggle you around so much. Hopefully I'll get this correct here. Oh, that's not so bad. So let's see how this goes, and I can tell you about this. So the affidavit of Marilyn Teed at the Central Schwenkfelder Fair. Very interesting, huh? Well, I wrote this about, and I didn't check this date. There was 2 dates for the preliminary hearing, and the 3rd date was the December 2nd one that actually came off. They told me that the first date was changed because the first court did not know the schedule of the second. So Judge Leo did not know the schedule of Augustine's court, Judge Augustine's court. So that was the first switch. The second switch had nothing to do with me at all either. So I don't know who did that. Had to have been the trooper. But, you know, sometimes you have to readjust it so your witnesses can show up, but his witnesses never showed up. So I don't know why that was switched. Now, again, with this too, you want to stop it and read it. I'm going to go kind of fast, but I'm going to repeat some things I know because I did this before and I wanted to switch in something, and you know I do not edit. So let me get this down here. All right. So I always make sure that I check the law before I go anywhere. Wherever the public is allowed to go, free speech is allowed to go. So public is, you know, someone who is just allowed to freely go. If it's an event where there's a fee, a cover charge, or an entrance fee, then that's not considered a public event because it's you have to pay to go. So you are I don't know the correct term for that, but it's selective. I don't know if it's called a contract legally or something like that. Okay, so wherever the public is allowed to freely go, free speech is allowed to go. All right. So this was the property was owned by the church. Ellis Anders and his wife, it was a farm next door to the church, and they didn't have children, so they gave it to the church. And I knew them personally. So you can read that, where I organized an event there. I was married in that church. I was a member of the church, but that was before this pastor. This pastor did not know me. But when I got there, several people walked up to me. Hi, Marilyn, how you doing? Yada, yada. And you will see that on the video. This was not public ground, but as you know from the sheet of the law cases I showed you, free speech is allowed on private property when it is a public square. And this was a public square. There was no entrance fee. There was no any restrictions on the public coming on there. And I was at the end of the first field that was filled with cars. So there was probably 100 cars in that field easily. Between more than 100 cars, but there was easily 100. Property was owned by the church. Okay. On that day, the property was open to the public, making it a public square. Okay, this is important. I'm going to mention this. Public, it's important to note that public does not refer to the economic term public sector. And I think a lot of police are not told this, or they don't have a complete understanding of this. The public sector is someone who works for the government where the public funds it. The public funds the government workers, the government office. So that's considered the public sector. The private sector is an economic term also, and it refers to when you fund your own things. So that's private enterprise. A lot of the public sector seems to act like private enterprise, don't they? But they are not. And they are subject to us. They should be. Okay. But we all know that there's, I think I mentioned this later about America being a corporation. You need to look into that. Okay, the entrance fee would have made it not free speech. I also need to add that my free speech was not to protest anything the church was doing. I was not protesting the church in any way. In fact, my information supported the Bible, so I'm concerned as to why the pastor even objected at all. As a caveat, I went to the Ole Fair, and they asked a $5 parking fee, and even one sign. I have pictures of that. So, sign says a $5 donation for parking, so you can't say it was not an entrance fee. And I told them, if you watch the Ole video, I talked to when I first got there, I went to the office, and I told them all this, and they called the police anyway, and the police came, but they never talked to me. They just were observing what I was doing. And I think 3 guys came. I did not really give them any mind. I think at least 2 or 3 cops came, and only one remained and followed me around. And it was the one of the older cops, and didn't have a hat or anything like that on. Just was kind of listening and watching and walking with me, just following to make sure that nobody got too upset about the information. And I was controlling the crowd fairly well. I do not tolerate people who are going to be belligerent. I shut them down right away because I know how to ask them a question that they probably can't answer. I'm not stupid, and I am fairly intelligent, and I can ask a question that's going to stump them and make them look a little bit smaller. Therefore, they behave themselves around me. And I'm old enough to be most of their grandmother, so although I look rather young though. But, They usually don't give me any trouble. I don't think I've ever had anybody, until this Schwenkfelder Fair, the guy who grabbed, Chris Hunt, who grabbed my banners, I don't think I've had anybody be that violent towards me. That was pretty bad. So, okay, so there's about the oldie fair. So I attended the Calvary Church of Souderton car show, and this was at another church. And a large crowd had gathered around my banners, and they were asking questions. And the security guard from the church came, says, I have to leave. I'm there. Well, no, I don't think so. So call the cops, and they did. And the young guy came, and he, they have all this, I'll say piss and vinegar. And they want to show that they're an authority. Well, and that's good in a lot of cases, but not when it's me just doing free speech. That's not good. You should be, supporting free speech, because if we lose our free speech, people, we're done. We will be communist China. It's so important. I don't care if you agree with what I'm saying. If I'm being polite, respectful, and I'm just standing there letting people look, then you better support my right to say it. Many of our men have died to support our right for free speech. In fact, many say that the Second Amendment is there to protect the First Amendment. And I totally agree with that one. So we should have a militia, not a standing army. Okay, so here we go. Oh, where's the question? Oh, let me back up and get that, because this was here. When the supervisor arrived, I said the same things, and he asked the church security if they charged the public to attend the car show, which was exactly the right question to ask. I was so pleased that was the first thing he said. And that's the correct question. So, okay. I was not 10 feet from the community building. Here's an interesting point. They built that community building, which has a gymnasium in it. They're all going to this sports thing because they think it teaches, integrity and morality and getting along. No, it doesn't. It doesn't teach that. It just confirms if you have it or not. Because if you're a sore loser, then you don't really have those morals and integrity and whatnot. So the community building they built, and I applied to be the manager when it was first built. Whoa, one of the questions they asked as the manager's duties was to advertise the building for public use. They did. It was amazing. And, isn't God good? God is so good. He just lays all these things out, and all you have to do is put the pieces of the puzzle together. And look at that. Look at this picture that's being painted here by all of my experiences that God led me into. And please note that the activities building was not labeled the community center for Schwenkfelder members and their families only. As the pastor wants everybody to believe that country fair, which he never even attended, it before he got there. Holy cow. Come on. He doesn't know anything. So listen, the minute I arrived at the center of the driveway outside the community building, I was greeted by several neighbors. Like I said, they were looking at the banners. I handed out many brochures already, at least a dozen, I would say. Then Elizabeth Hunt came up and said, "No, you can't be here. You have to go." What? No, I said, I'm here under free speech. So, and let me talk more about this video here. Soon after Mrs. Hunt was intimidatingly close to me. Her husband arrived and put his hands on my on the banners. Was far more angry and wanted to argue, as can be seen on the video. I was patient and firm and depicted in the photograph someone sent me. You all saw that photograph, right? I have a video on that, but I'll get this picture out and show it to you anyway. These are the pictures. Okay, there's the picture. That's the picture that was sent up on media, on social media. I think on Facebook it was posted, and they posted it for me to see. So it was somebody who was there and took this picture. Okay, so there is a video on that. You can watch that video. This is more comprehensive, this video. The past, okay. And I had my hand up, and I tried not to look into his eyes, because I know that enrages people when you look in their eyes. And that's something I always did, was I always looked at people's in their eyes, and people felt intimidated by me looking in their eyes, because I guess I have some confidence or whatever. I'm not, you know, I always thought that was the right thing to do. You look in their eyes, but some people get intimidated by that. And if you're angry, you don't look in their eyes because it enrages them more. So you don't look in their eyes. I know that. The pastor who was wearing a baseball cap was seen in the picture, and he identified himself to me, and he said, you know, I have to leave. And I said, no, I'm under the First Amendment free speech. So he called the police, and I did not hear their conversation, or I would have told him to not lie right then and there. Pastor must have told that it was a private event for members and their families, which Trooper Lynn should have known, working in the area for 4 years already. Come on. So this does not make any sense to me. So is there some collusion between the pastor and Trooper Lynn? Were they, hey, this is a way we can get this woman, and yeah, we know who she is. Yeah, let's go get her. I mean, that's a real possibility. Yeah, let's arrest her and just intimidate her and make her feel humiliated in front of all her friends in the community. Yeah. And I vote at that church. And I also campaign for candidates at that church. Now, someone said to me, well, first you say you don't vote, then you say you do vote. Okay. I voted for one guy. And that was the guy I campaigned for. Just a local county commissioner, Joe Gale, and that's the only guy I would vote for because I think he's honest. I don't really know personally the other guys on the ballot, and I cannot vote for somebody I don't have a good feel on. I don't think the elections are fair and true. I think at the lower levels, they probably don't care so much. But these parasitic controllers, they just select, especially the federal government, because that's the corporation. Well, now you know what? Pennsylvania is a corporation, and all the townships are incorporated too, and counties, yeah, they're all incorporated. But how much of a reach, who has control over those corporations, that's interesting. I don't really, but I felt I had to vote for Joe because I campaigned for him there. Now, does Joe Gale agree with everybody who votes for him? No, certainly not. So it's no reflection on him. So here we go. When Trooper Lynn arrived, he came over to me already putting on the blue latex gloves. And there was a woman to his left in the blue uniform, and she was also putting on the blue latex gloves. So they planned this already. They planned to arrest me before they even got to me. They never asked me, Trooper Lynn never asked me any questions, except, are you going to leave? That's the only question he asked. He didn't ask about any First Amendment rights. Why do I think I have the right to be there? There was no conversation. No other confrontation with any other police in the 2 years I've been doing this ever came to me already putting on blue latex gloves. No, he was excited about humiliating me. He was excited about this. He was all charged up, and I saw that look in his face. If looks could kill, yeah, that's it. He was out of control. He was hyped up. He was ready to throw me down on the blacktop, which is exactly what he said. After he had me in handcuffs. He had at least one hand in handcuffs, because I remember looking at the ground and my body was slightly turned. So he was putting the handcuff on my right arm, my right wrist. At the time he said that. So what is going on here? I did not resist, and that was thrown out. He was a mess. He was a mess. So, you know, if there's some guy on meth or mescaline or whatever those speed drugs, you might have to be a little bit strong in language and actions to prevent yourself from getting hurt. But grandma's not going to hurt you. You know, I have a friend who was she's very small and petite, very thin, and she was also arrested several years ago. They were protesting down in Philadelphia against, they always do abortion. They go to abortion clinics. So she could not even raise her voice if she tried. So these people are getting arrested for all sorts of things, and they aren't legitimate. So you got to know there's stuff like this going on. She was jailed for 21 days. So should I consider myself lucky? Well, yeah, because I take care of my 92-year-old mother. She just turned 92 on Sunday. And she would be in a bad way if I was not able to take care of her. She would be in a very bad way. I cannot trust any of those old folks' homes or retirement centers, because they put people on pharmaceuticals. My mom is not on any pharmaceuticals that have any side effects. So she's on vitamins and things like that. So that's none of anybody's business. So I'm just going to continue here. I was protecting my own property, just holding on to my banners, and he grabbed my arm and put it in a handcuff. I did not keep holding on to my banner either. I let go. When he grabbed my arm, I let go. I had an ex-husband who also was in a violent rage, and I know what that looked like. I know what that looks like. Okay, this is an illegal arrest after I was handcuffed. That's when I was yelling out, "This is an illegal arrest." And I really wasn't yelling like anger. I was just loudly stating, and you know, if you see my videos, I can talk pretty loud. So I just was talking loud. It did not hurt my throat at all. I once sang for 2 hours hymns at an abortion clinic. I sang for 2 hours. We have the right to be heard. If you read that, the free speech cases that I showed you, we have the right to be heard. I could have used an amplification device. I am allowed to use an amplification device, and I did not, but I could have. So I could have been a whole lot louder, but I wasn't. There was music playing at the event anyway. There was music. They were having, they have a pavilion there for food. It's one of those things, hey, come on, spend the day. Or at least from 10 to 3, the 5 hours when it's open to the public. So, so when we got to his car, he strangely, oh, that's something I forgot to mention. When he came up to me, I kept saying to him, Trooper Lynn, I said, I have the right to see your supervisor. And I said it several times. And I looked at him when he refused to show me his supervisor, or get him, call him. I said to him, I am recording this entire event. I am recording this. And he like slapped his chest and he said, I am too. But I didn't see any camera, even a GoPro or anything on him. So when we got to his car, which he did not have to drag me or yank me or anything, I walked. When we got to his car, he strangely shifted me. We were going one direction. He says, oh, come over here. And like he shifted me over to the front of his car. He goes, there, see? And there, what? So I figured out that it was to be in view of the dash cam. And he did say something. He said, like, there, see, or there you go, or something, as though he was recording it. But from the dash cam, not from any camera he had on himself, because I don't think he did. He did not. So is that lie number 1? Or is it lie number, how many lies are we going to have? Let's count them up. So then he thought for a second, said, oh, we're going to take you over to the ambulance and get you checked out here. So he walked me over to the ambulance, which was right there. And the EMT asked if there was anything I needed to be checked. And I said, I might have diarrhea. And she said, well, you need to go to the bathroom. And I stood there and I just thought for a second. I had to evaluate my body. And because I have IBS in the past, I have it really under control. I know exactly what I can and cannot do. But this is about the fight or flight reflex. So I was definitely, when I'm in flight, this is when I was dealing with my ex-husband and his anger, that really messed up my nervous system. But now I'm much, much better. And so I didn't need any medical assistance. Well, when he put me in the car, it was very cold. The AC was blowing right on me. So I took my foot, I lifted it up, and I have shorts underneath. It's a skort. It's not a skirt. So it looks short, but there's shorts underneath of it. I don't like the way I look in shorts, so I like a skort where there's a skirt covering the shorts. So I picked my foot up. I'm very flexible, and I turn the direction of the vent away from me to prevent the air conditioning from blowing on me. So then when he was, Trooper Lynn was interviewing Mr. and Mrs. Hunt, I used my foot to lower the window, the electric window. So when Trooper Lynn found out that the window was down, he came over and he was very angry about that. He was very angry. And he put it up and he threatened me again with something. I forget what he threatened me with then. Probably throwing me down on the ground again. I don't know. And then he moved the car. Maybe they had to get something in or out. I don't know. He was in the driveway, and so then he moved the car. Then Trooper Brian came over. I don't know his last name. And he opened the door and asked me if I wanted him to loosen the handcuffs and make me more comfortable. And I said, well, I should not be here. I should not have been arrested. And what would loosening the handcuffs do anyway? Because I could not sit back. I was sitting on my hands. I could not sit back. it really wouldn't do anything to loosen them. It would do nothing. So he shut the door and did nothing. I mean, if he really wanted to be nice and helpful, he would have loosened them anyway. This was not a nice thing. This was, let me pretend to be nice and ask you to submit to me so I can have more control over you. That's what it was. It was not a nice thing, or he would have done it anyway. This was a verbal exchange to, it's a offer and a reward. You submit to me and change your stance of not liking what I'm doing to you. If you like me for doing this to you, then I will reward you with loosening the handcuffs. That's what this is. It's a mind control game that they play. Yeah. Because if you're going to do something nice for somebody, you do it anyway, no matter if they're mean to you or not. No matter what, right? I was not mean to these people. I was not mean to anybody there. I was standing for my rights. But they didn't like that. Okay, so I was arrested in front of my friends and neighbors in my hometown by these people, these troopers who did not grow up there. They don't know anybody there. They don't know me. They don't know the law. They don't stand for the law. This is the whole situation, okay? Here's when we got to the station, the supervisor was standing in front of the building. He looked like he just came out of the door, as he was not carrying any keys or hat, like he just got out of the car on 422, as he said he was. Oh, yeah, we didn't come down there. I couldn't come down there to that Central Schwenkfelder Church because I was over on 422. That's what he said. And I asked him more than once. I heard that more than once. So I appeared that procedure was totally ignored and my rights were refused. So the other thing is, you will know from the preliminary hearing recording that Trooper Lynn, I do know a Pastor Lynn, but no. Trooper Lynn said that he didn't know I was recording this until I got to the station. He says, oh, when we got to the station, we found out that she was recording. And that was totally wrong, because I told him I was recording right in the beginning. So what's he doing here? You know, why is he saying these things? Like it's a surprise to him? No, it's not a surprise. So this is the one who surreptitiously recorded me. That's what Supervisor Patrick Ruddy said. My response was to him, I never did anything in secret. I wear my camera right on my chest just like this. That's what I said to him. The video will support what I am telling you here. If they do not tamper with it, do not tamper with the evidence, if they do not edit it, and this is why I'm writing down this whole thing of, and I wrote this down a week after, but I just did not do anything with it. But I think now, since I'm finding out that they're lying about a lot of stuff, I got to let you guys know what they're talking about here. We walked through the first door into this little lobby, and before we walked into the second door, he stopped me and they read a sign on the inner door which said no cameras beyond this point. That's when he grabbed my camera holder, tempted to break it by pulling on the string around my neck. I stopped him. I said, no, don't do that. I said, grab the corner. And he took it out and turned it off. Now, I have since learned that it was not imperative that I go beyond that door. I could have sat in the lobby the whole time and kept my camera. However, I was not given that choice. I will never go in that back room again. Nope, that's not going to happen. Will I be arrested again? Well, I do plan on doing this, so I'm sure that they'll come at me again if they don't just throw me in jail. Because if they edit that video and they lie, they can get me convicted. I am fully aware of that. But see, then they will have to live with their choices. And you know what, guys? There's no room in the bunker for you. The elites who are running this show, they don't care about you. They are going to be protecting themselves, and they don't give it two hoots about you. And this is all coming out, and you're going to have to answer to the public for the things that you have done. And you think that you're going to confiscate all the weapons from everybody? I don't know. They're trying to confiscate weapons now. And you will be real true men if you are the only ones with a gun, right? That's going to make you a man? No, that doesn't do it. That doesn't do it. You can be on the side of right, or you can be on the side of the liars who don't give a hoot about you. So you have to make that decision. And I'm talking to you, the troopers who are watching this video, the police who are watching this video. And I know they are watching. I figured out something which will come out later. But in the preliminary hearing, Trooper Lynn said it was not about what was on the banners. And I'll discuss that in a little bit here. But he said something, and I figured out what happened there. He said this arrest was not about the content of the banners. And I'll discuss that in a minute. I stopped him and told him to grab the corner, and he took it out. Okay. I was handcuffed with my right wrist and my right ankle to this cold metal bench. I was treated like a murderess. I was. It was almost funny. If you know, it was just ridiculous. That's how it was. It was ridiculous. So it was obvious that they were doing this on purpose, and it was obvious. Okay? I'm not angry about this. I'm just saying this is what happened to me. You've got to be aware, everyone who watches my channel, sincerely. You have to be aware. And I know Cop Watch is watching these things too. Okay, when I told them it was cold in there, they provided me with a yellow fleece-backed plastic tablecloth. They called it a blanket, but it was a yellow plastic tablecloth with the fleece on the back. And I had to put it around myself the best I could, being handcuffed. He did not unhandcuff me or wrist or ankle cuff me. He did not uncuff me in any way for me to put that blanket around me. This is the situation we're in. He opened it up halfway and then just handed it to me. So I had my left arm free. I had to get it underneath me and around me the best I could. So then Trooper Lynn was trying to figure out something to charge me with. He did not know the law. He was looking up things in the book. He was asking questions of Trooper Brian. What about this? What about that? Now, that could have all been a game too. That could have all been for show. They wanted me to read something out of the book, and I told them I didn't have my glasses, so I really couldn't read it. And for me to squint that long, that was very small, tiny print. If they really wanted me to read it, they would have put it on the computer screen and enlarged it. Then I could have done that. But no, that would have been too far away from the bench that they had me handcuffed to, and I'm such a dangerous criminal. Being sarcastic here a little. So I'm hard of hearing, and there are certain things I can hear and certain things I can't. Okay. So Trooper Brian spoke to me about Marsh versus Alabama. I told him about that case. He looked it up and he says, oh, Marsh was on a sidewalk. And I said, no, it's not the same thing. The roads, it was a company town. The roads were not dedicated. It was not a municipality. So you read those laws and you will find that all out. Don't just read what's on my paper either. There's many places you can look at those cases online and they have it all laid out as to the circumstances. Okay, Trooper Lynn was playing with my phone, taking out the battery. I warned him that the video should not be deleted. I also said he could download a copy right now, just as long as he didn't delete it. And Trooper Lynn was writing up a document and was asking me how to word the language, and he wanted me to sign it. And then I said, when it was all finished, he came over to me and he wanted me to sign it. And I said, you know, I really can't sign that unless I have somebody else read it, a lawyer read it. Because I don't know the ramifications, you know, and I really can't read all that fine print anyway, right? So he was not happy about that. He like shuffled the papers and like went off in a huff. And I said, why do you need my video when you said you were recording the whole time too? Because he wasn't. He wasn't recording it. So then he wanted to get my fingerprints. Although I didn't touch anything that belonged to the church. My fingerprints were on my banners only. I didn't touch anything. I didn't even go to the bathroom at the church. So, he wanted to take my fingerprints. Okay. So he uncuffed my right ankle and put the handcuffs on both of my ankles. And then he put the handcuffs on both of my wrists. So I was cuffed. And I shuffled over to the bathroom because it hurt my ankles to walk. I shuffled to the bathroom, which was like just a toilet and a sink. And it really smelled bad. And he apologized for the smell. I guess I sure hope that those policemen are more direct with their guns than they are with their, because they could not hit the toilet. So he took my fingerprints on the digital screen. And he kept telling me, no, you've got to relax. You got to relax. There was absolutely nothing I was doing that was interfering with the fingerprints. Nothing. This was another game that they play. Oh, you've got to submit to me. Submit to me. Be putty in my hands, and that's what they're doing here. You got to know that. So, I even think that he did a bad job on taking the fingerprints the first 2 times. I think it was 3 times before he actually got it to a point where he thought I was pliable. I think he did it wrong on purpose. look, you need to relax because look, this isn't even going the right way here. Well, it's not going the way he wanted me to act towards him. So you got to know these things. You got to think of these things. And if you know them, you can act compliant without letting your guard down. This is the deal. You've got to be vigilant entire time. The entire time you've got to be vigilant. Do never, never, never let your guard down. There are so many times where the police are doing things that are wrong and unscrupulous. So, am I saying that these policemen here are unscrupulous? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just pointing out the facts of what happened. But your troopers or your police may not be scrupulous. So no matter where you are, you've always got to be on your guard. I was watching what they were doing. I was trying to be very careful about the words I chose. Sometimes I did not even answer. Like in the car, driving to the police station. Oh, I'm treating you nice, aren't I? That's what he said to me. And I did not answer him. Because it was a weird, really creepy question. It was a creepy question. I felt that creepiness and I wasn't going to answer it. Yes. Could all that have been done to further intimidate and humiliate me? Yes. The next shift came in. Listen to this. This is a good one. The next shift came in and Trooper Lynn was boasting that he doesn't like arresting people, but he does like fining trucks. I put in that word fining because that's what he said, getting trucks. And I knew what he meant. Okay. And then a large young guy, very handsome, came in with dark eyebrows and dark hair. And he was identified to me by Trooper Lynn as the guy who is, and I'm going to put this in there, he was focused on criminals or getting criminals. Conversation was on my phone video, and this new guy, the criminal guy, the trooper, this one, he said, oh, a verbal okay is good enough. And I said, I gave a verbal okay. That's exactly what happened there. But nothing was said by Trooper Lynn about that. See, Trooper Lynn did not want a copy of my video. He wanted to prevent my video from getting online, number one. And he wanted to keep my camera to prevent me from going out and doing street teaching. That's my assessment. So now he has my camera until discovery of for the trial, which will probably be sometime in February. So let's count this up. October, November, December, January, February. It might be 6 months. I'm glad that I was able to borrow another phone camera. And even though it doesn't work exactly the same way that the one I had did, I really liked having that. I was used to it, but that's okay. I can adapt. Okay, the next thing that happened was FaceTime with Judge Paul N. Leo. Okay, now I made this video before, but I canceled that one, and I'm doing this again because of this little section here. And this, I'm just going to say this here. He answered the phone, which means we were on a Skype call. That was my arraignment or something. I'm not sure exactly what he called it. But this Paul Leo answered the phone not wearing a robe, and he was wearing, I saw him from the waist up, so there's nothing real perverted about it, like really overtly perverted, but he did not have a regular shirt on, a street shirt, and I saw a lot of skin. So I'm not sure at this point, remembering this, if he had any shirt on at all, or if he had a t-shirt that was like a really hot summer t-shirt without sleeves and big armholes, or if it was a muscle man undershirt. I am not sure exactly what it was. But I remember thinking that it was a very strange way to answer a professional call. I was a little taken aback by seeing that Judge Paul and Leo on that Skype call in the condition that he was in. And he went and put on his black robe and sat at a table. And that is the way I should have seen him from the beginning. This was a very strange thing. Now, if I were a judge, I would never disrespect my office or any person who was arrested by coming on a Skype call in any other way than sitting at a table in my robe. That is how I would always do it. You have to determine for yourself if this was appropriate or not. I don't think it was. But that's your opinion. You might be more laid back than me. Okay. So he asked if I wanted him to read the documents. And at that point, I was thinking, okay, he would be annoyed if I said, he would be annoyed if I asked him to read all those documents. And there was like 4 pages. So I just said, well, I can read them when I get home. So he kind of just briefly went over them. And then he said I was cited for disorderly conduct, and he said cursing. And I'm there, wait a minute. I said, no, I object. I never cursed. And you know, from watching my videos, if you've seen all of them, I may have said 1 or 2 curse words in the whole 2 years that I've done this, and I never said it in anger. So, you know, I am pretty strict about that. I don't allow cursing on my channel for any of the comments. I don't allow people to just mock and ridicule. I don't allow that. So, he said, oh no, it wasn't for cursing. It was just for loud talking or yelling or something like that, he said. Being loud. Okay, I'll say that. I objected at and agreed it was for loud noise. Okay. Then he told me he was going to issue the warrant for my phone later that night. That he was going to issue the warrant later that night. 10 days after this arrest, I called his office, and the woman, the clerk there, said there was nothing in the file about a warrant. So he didn't do it that night. Okay. So I don't know why he didn't even issue the warrant right then and there. Trooper Lynn, I watched him put my phone and paperwork in an envelope. And there was a paper attached that the second shift sergeant signed. He signed it. So there was something official already written up. Why wasn't it just handled right then and there? Okay, 2 things that the shift sergeant said. Because they met right there, right in the same room I was in. It was probably a 20 by 30 room. 25 by 25. So that was about the size of the room we were in. The toilet was right in there. There was file cabinets. There was 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 or 4 computer desks in a row. Double sides. So there was 8 total, 6 or 8. I think it was 8. Trying to think. 6 or 8. Okay. He said the shift sergeant said there were 2 events going on that day they needed to know about. And one of them was Creamery Tire Customer Appreciation Day at the 4-H Center. At that, Trooper Lynn pointed at me from across the room and said loudly, "Don't you go there." Hello? I just looked at him and I did not say a word. I expected the room to erupt with laughter, but I think they all knew he was wrong for saying that. Because I'm a customer of Creamery Tire, and if I wanted to go there, I would have gone there. I would not have taken my banners because it was a private event. Creamery Tire, customer appreciation, you had to be a customer of theirs to get in, and it was at the 4-H Center, which was not public ground. It was a school that 4-H took over, and now it's the 4-H Center. They have horse shows there and everything. It's quite nice. And even inside the building, a church was renting it that I went to. We rented out the gym, and we had worship services in the gym. Okay, where am I now? Okay. So there was some contact made with the man Jack Kelly who towed my car from the fairgrounds. You know, I've heard about this Jack Kelly for a long time, about him having connections with the police. He has a gas station down at the corner, and yeah. So people in our community know that there's a connection there. Well, Jack Kelly runs the impound yard. So here's an opportunity for Jack Kelly to get $225. And the church, supposedly the church pastor requested my car be towed off the property, even though the fair was not over. And the funny thing is, I was held till it was over. 4.5, 5 hours. I was arrested at 10:20, I think. It started at 10. I was arrested at 10:20. And I didn't even get there right when it started. So I was let go around 3:30. I think the event was over at 3. Here, let me go through this. I was escorted in angled chains to the front lobby where I was read the papers. Oh, did I go over about how he, after he took my fingerprints, you have to read that part. He did not do all sides of my face. He did the front, took a picture, turned me to the left, took a picture, but did not turn me to the right. So that was unprofessional. He did not follow protocol there. Sorry, I'm jumping around again. I signed the first page as not read, only received. And he was very angry at that and took the papers and went in the back room. Oh, I'm surprised. He was afraid, you know. He wasn't afraid that I was going to run out the front door with my ankles and my hands cuffed. Oh, my. Yeah, both my hands and both my ankles were cuffed. So then he showed me the door after I signed the papers, and he showed me the door and expected me to walk home. I walked down the corner, went to the bathroom, which didn't stink. Walked through the middle of Skipback, and was approached by a man who called himself a fan of flat earth. He said he saw my shirt and pulled over so he could meet me. Well, that could be true, but I'm telling you, when I was in the police station, Patrick, Ruddy, and Trooper Lynn were talking about getting me a ride home, and they said some sort of a number, and it sounded like a code word. And this guy could have been that code word. Yeah, we'll get her, you know what. This might be the you know what that they got me a ride home. I don't know. If they don't have people who do recon for them, then they're not very clever. I told this guy, tell everybody you know about my arrest. So you can read what happened there. I went down to get my car, my mother's car, which was in the impound yard. I took my car, went down there to Furry Village, got my car out. I had to go back with an Uber ride to pick up my car, which was not in the impound yard. See, I just had to get Mom's car out of there first. So, make sure you got the hours of operation. Note it's not in those hours now. That's what Jack Kelly nervously said. He did not like me taking pictures of the impound yard or his signs or my mom's car in there. Did not like that. So you note these things and always take pictures. Always. Picture says 1,000 words. I asked about my phone again because Judge Augustine, other people were saying, well, you have to ask the trooper. Well, he's never going to give me anything I asked for. I asked him that, and you can hear it. I asked him on the day of the preliminary hearing, where's my camera? Because he wanted to make a deal. I said, where's my camera? Oh, no, this is under investigation. I guess that's his card that he's holding because I know he knows I want that. But I'm going to get it in discovery, so it's okay. And if he tampers with that, then I do have witnesses I can get that will totally discredit him. You know, I met several people there who are neighbors and friends. Does he think I don't know anybody? I mean, I don't know. I grew up in there. I grew up in this community 64 years. I went to the church. I was married in that church. My in-laws are buried there. I taught my son to ride his bicycle in that graveyard. I went to Bible study in that church. I organized the first event on that church property, that farm property in the Long Red Barn. We cleaned out that Long Red Barn so we could have our craft fair in there. Then I was the first one to organize that. It was my idea. So come on now, guys. What's going on here? It's when new people come in, like this pastor they have there at the Schwenkfelder Church. He's not part of the community. He's not. So when you bring in outsiders, they don't know you. They don't love you. They aren't part. That's why the Bible says, train up leaders from within. And these churches don't do it. They're all going to these seminaries where the pastors are lied to about what the Bible says. Because if they followed the Bible, they would know that the earth was not a spinning ball. I had to get that in there. So, everybody knows that the Bible is a flat earth book. Come on. That's how they can say the Bible is wrong. That's when they had the original picture that they supposedly took from so-called outer space. They showed they call it the blue marble. And they said, look, the earth is a globe. So the Bible has to be just a nice book of stories. And they discredited the Bible with that one faked picture. Yep. It was a stab in the heart to the Bible. Not for me, though. Not for me. And many others. And many more to come. And this is why they didn't want me at that church with that information. You don't put any information about the flat earth in a group of possible Bible believers because they will accept it. True Bible believers will accept it as truth. So there's a greater percentage of that happening. So I did not protest anything the church was doing. And you just heard what I said. Read that. Okay, I've attended several other events on private property, as you knew. Not resisting arrest. Okay, posting advertisements. No, they were on my wheeled cart. And I say baby carriage and wheelchair because they don't disallow those. Censorship. I believe this whole thing was about censorship. The pastor of that church abused police power to censor the information. So at the preliminary hearing, you will hear him say that the information on the banner was not the issue. Here's the link for that, but it's right on my channel. And listen to his remark, and you tell me if you wonder why he said that. I did. It like stuck out. Like, what? Why did he say that? It was like out of left field. And Trooper Lynn, when I was in the station, I was very quietly to myself. I was singing hymns. What else do you do when you're there for 4.5, 5 hours? What do you do? So I was just singing some hymns very quietly to myself. Oh, and he says, oh, that sounds nice. Again, trying to butter me up because, you know, he just was filled with hate. But they are trained to try and, you know, get you to submit and soften up towards them so they can get information out of you. Excuse me. So he said, do you believe in the Bible? I said, yes, I do. He said he doesn't believe the Bible, doesn't believe in God, and he was in the military. So this is a question I want to ask Trooper Lynn. When you were in the military confronting the enemy, did you stop to ask questions first? This is a problem we're having with police officers who were in the military. The military's trained to confront the enemy. So they don't ask questions. They view anyone as the enemy combatant. That is who we are now. His neighbors and the community members are all enemy combatants. If someone is if a trooper is called to an incident, there is no discussion. So look into that. There's a lot of information out there on this. And I also know he will be viewing this video, and wish him no ill. He's in service to the public or the Corporation of America. Please research that. We are incorporated. Yes, we are. And going through these trials, even public ones, is how we decipher the law. We get things cleared up by going through these, things. Of course, he's getting paid to do this, and this is taking money and time away from me. So, but that's okay. We have to go through this. That's fine. We don't have to if he wouldn't have arrested me in the first place and just told the pastor to stop lying and to respect the First Amendment. But he didn't do that. So, okay, guys, love you all and hope you learned something from this. Please look up all these things I told you about, and talk to you soon. Bye.